Staying in the States now, Trump just keeps winning these court cases. He's kicking them down like rickety old doors. This one is the case that ABC had with him. They've decided to settle outside of court. It's much smarter doing it that way and a little less money. They've been ordered to pay him $15 million plus his legal fees. So I imagine the entirety of the sum is much, much bigger. This was, of course, due to George Stephanopoulos, an ABC host, claiming the president-elect was, quote, found liable for rape, end quote, which is patently untrue. We know that now. We've known that for a very long time. He didn't have a leg to stand on in telling his viewers that. And so Trump has rightly won without even going to court. So here's MSNBC waxing lyrical about how terrible this is, what a massive payout it's going to be.
I would just say, I mean, this feels like it has a real chilling effect. Like, I mean, shout out to the standards department. Okay, standards is always making sure that we are keeping the bar high and substantive and accurate. But what George Stephanopoulos said in that interview, I mean, it seems to hold up with what the judge said after the fact. And now his news organization and himself, George Stephanopoulos himself, is paying $1 million of his own money to the lawyers, and ABC $15 million. It's insane.
Simone Sanders, want to be careful there. You too could be writing a check for $15 million after seemingly backing the guy who was just successfully sued. Honestly, do these people have rocks in their head, Gabby?
Of course we count on MSNBC to say something like that. They were just as bad as CNN throughout this campaign. But well done, Trump, for fighting this. Obviously, it's pretty rare that you actually get defamation payouts over in the US because their freedom of speech laws are a bit more extreme than over here. But there are plenty of other hosts that he could go after if he wanted to. There were MSNBC reporters that were directly comparing Donald Trump to Hitler, a mass murderer. Surely that counts as defamation in some way.
Well, that bit doesn't, but and this is the thing, and this is where the left sort of shoots themselves in the foot, that they always overreach. So they can't just accept, you know, that Donald Trump is someone who they don't like or they don't agree with. He has to be Hitler. And they can't actually accept in this case, and this was a really telling one, they can't actually accept the fact that E.J. Simmons, or whatever her name is, did actually win that case, and she did get an even higher defamation payout than she did for the actual sexual assault that the civil court upheld. But it was a sexual assault. It wasn't a rape. And so by having in their beady little minds, oh, Donald Trump is evil, he must be a rapist, he must be a rapist, and just not being able to get their heads around the facts, they have then made a, $15 million mistake. Because,
plus legal fees.
Plus legal fees. I think I saw a $23 million figure, but that might be what that translates to in Australian dollars. But again, it just goes to show how much of a kind of bubble these people live in. They think these things about Donald Trump. They talk to people who think the exact same things, and they just get in their head that Donald Trump's a rapist and that the courts have found this, and they think it's true. And suddenly they've just implanted this idea that that is a fact, and it simply is not a fact. In the state where it happened, there is a very clear definition of rape, and what happened with Donald Trump did not fit that criteria. Simple as that.
And you'd think these guys being journos, they know the legalities. They know how important which words you use when you're talking about matters like this really, really matter. And yet, here's Morning Joe seemingly, again, just doing the same thing, talking about Stephanopoulos' interview with Nancy Mace, which is how this whole case came to be.
She's so concerned about rape victims being shamed. What about what Donald Trump does to his rape victim? Judge said she was a rape victim. Day in and day out, constantly shaming E. Jean Carroll, so much so that the jury had to come back a second time and make the penalty so bad that maybe he would stop shaming a rape victim. But that's who Nancy Mace aggressively endorses.
So now you're shaming a rape victim, for crying out loud. They never learn.
Yeah, this is the thing, and I don't know. I haven't read the entire judgment against for E. Jean Carroll against Donald Trump, and that was what I was saying before about how the jury came back and gave him even more in the defamation because he was talking about it. But again, the definition of rape, I don't know if the judge referred to her as a rape victim in some other context or talked about rape victims generally.
No, sorry, I was talking about Nancy Mace, who is genuinely...
Sorry.
She's a sitting Republican in the House of Reps.
But yeah, that's right. But again, I don't know how, if Joe Scarborough was talking about that same case and banging on about the action against George Stephanopoulos, I do not see, again, it just seems to be people talking in a bubble where they do not realise, they convince themselves that feelings are facts.
It's bizarre that George Stephanopoulos even went down this line of questioning. And if you look back at his history before he was a journalist, he was a communications director of the 1992 presidential campaign of Bill Clinton, who's of course had several accusations against him, which he denies. But it's bizarre that George Stephanopoulos really continued to grill Nancy Mace about this, and I think she did a great job really calling him out at the time, saying, "You are shaming me."